The Crown and the Fool by Sevastian Winters. Chapter 1. A Jester's Proposal. Tobias erupted into the throne room in a flash of color and energy, his motley an explosion of hues in the staid decorum of the court. He somersaulted, landing dramatically at the foot of the dais. "Your Majesty," he exclaimed, voice ringing with enthusiasm, "I bring a plan so outrageous, so magnificent, that even Lord Ainslie might crack a smile." King Alistair, amused, tapped the scepter lazily on his throne. "And what ingenious plan is this, Tobias? Hopefully not more sheep in armor." The jester clutched his chest in mock horror. "Oh, Your Majesty, if only you had seen the potential. But no, today's idea is far more practical." He spun around, his eyes scanning the cautious courtiers. "A game, Your Majesty. A challenge." A murmur rippled through the nobles. Tobias let the tension build before continuing, his voice rich with mischief. "Instead of sending soldiers to guard the grain in the southern provinces, let the farmers protect their own land. Offer a royal reward, a title, gold, land. Whoever comes up with the best defense wins." Lord Ainslie stepped forward, his face etched in disdain. "A game?" he repeated, incredulous. "The kingdom needs stability, not games." Tobias, unflappable, met Ainslie's glare with a grin. "Ah, but my dear Ainslie, creativity thrives in adversity. Let the farmers protect their livelihood. They'll fight harder for it than anyone else." King Alistair sat back, interest sparking in his eyes. "And the reward?" Tobias's grin widened. "Whatever they wish. The winner gets to dream big." Laughter echoed through the hall, but it was uncertain. Ainslie's frown deepened. The tension was palpable. Alistair's voice cut through the room. "You propose a game, Tobias. Then I propose another. For the next year, we will switch roles. You shall rule as king, and I shall take your place as jester. The kingdom will be yours to lead." A collective gasp rippled through the courtiers. Tobias's eyes widened in shock. "A year?" Alistair's smile deepened. "A year. You will make the decisions and face the consequences." Tobias hesitated, but only for a moment before his trademark grin returned. "A year it is, but I warn you, Your Majesty, I may just decide to keep the crown." Chapter 2. The Crown's Weight. Tobias entered the throne room with none of his usual flamboyance. The king's robes hung awkwardly on his wiry frame, the crown perched lopsided on his head. He climbed the dais with a theatrical flourish, but his demeanor was more restrained. The weight of the scepter in his hand was unfamiliar, heavier than he'd imagined. "Good morning, loyal subjects," Tobias boomed, his voice carrying over the room. "King Tobias I, at your service. What pressing matters need my attention today?" The courtiers exchanged uneasy looks. Lord Ainslie stepped forward, his expression tight with impatience. "The southern provinces await your decision, Your Majesty. The farmers are beset by raiders." Tobias waved his hand dismissively. "Ah, yes, the southern provinces. I've already solved that problem. We shall send them balloons." The court froze in stunned silence. "Balloons?" Ainslie repeated, his voice sharp with disbelief. "Bright, colorful balloons," Tobias continued, pacing in front of the throne. "Tie them to every stalk of wheat. The raiders will be so mesmerized, they'll forget about stealing the grain." Ainsley's face flushed with anger. "This is absurd." Tobias's grin faltered, but he recovered quickly. "Perhaps, but the farmers know their land better than anyone. Let them compete for the best solution. Whoever wins gets their reward. Sometimes absurdity is the key to clarity." From the shadows, Alistair, now dressed in Tobias's motley, watched with a knowing smile. Chapter 3. A Fool's Path. While Tobias grappled with his new responsibilities, Alistair was finding his role as jester equally challenging. The bells on his hat jingled with every awkward movement, and his attempts at humour fell flat. "So," Alistair began at the evening feast, "why did the knight refuse to joust?" "Because he didn't have a lance." The silence that followed was deafening. Later, in the privacy of the jester's chambers, Tobias offered him advice. "You're trying too hard, Your Majesty," he said, lounging casually on the bed. "Humour isn't about being clever. It's about being unexpected." Alistair scowled, pulling at the bells on his hat. "Unexpected?" Tobias leapt up from his chair, grabbing a nearby pillow and plopping it on his head. "Behold, I am King Pillow, ruler of naps and drool-stained linens." A reluctant smile tugged at Alistair's lips. "And what is your royal decree, King Pillow?" Tobias struck a dramatic pose. 2 naps a day, mandatory for all subjects." Over time, Alistair began to grasp that the jester's power lay not in clever jokes, but in challenging the court's rigid thinking. One day, during a council meeting, the nobles debated tax policy with heated fervour. Alistair, dressed in his motley, jangled the bells on his wrist for attention. "Perhaps," he said, a mischievous smile on his face, "we should tax the air as well. After all, everyone consumes it equally." The room fell silent. Then, slowly, chuckles began to spread. Even Ainsley cracked a smile. Tobias, seated on the throne, grinned. "You see, sometimes the most ridiculous ideas make the most sense, or at least make us rethink everything." Chapter 4. The Weight of the Crown. As the months passed, Tobias's reign became more challenging. A harsh winter swept through the kingdom, and the raiders pushed deeper into the provinces. The grain games, though creative, could not hold back the threat. Fields burned and the treasury emptied. Tobias found himself pacing the royal chambers late into the night, the weight of the crown pressing down on him more heavily than he had ever imagined. "It's not a game anymore," he said to Alistair, who sat across from him by the fire. Alistair nodded, his expression serious. "That's the burden of the crown. It's not about perfection. It's about learning which problems to prioritize." Tobias rubbed his temples. His humour long since faded. "And how do you know which ones to let go?" Alistair smiled softly. "You don't, but you listen to your people and trust your instincts, and you hope you've made the right choice." Chapter 5. The Game's End. The year came to a close, and it was time for Tobias and Alistair to switch back to their original roles. The courtiers gathered in the throne room, a quiet anticipation hanging in the air. Tobias stood before the throne, the golden crown heavy in his hands, his usual grin absent. He turned to Alistair, who stood beside him in the jester's motley, the bells jingling softly. "It's heavier than I thought," Tobias admitted, his voice quiet. Alistair nodded. "Leadership always is. But I've learned something too." Humor isn't just for amusement. It's a way to get people to see the truth. Tobias smiled faintly, handing the crown back to Alistair. I think I'll stick to juggling and jokes from now on. I've had enough of ruling for one lifetime. Alistair placed the crown back on his head, the weight familiar once more. And I've had enough of making bad jokes. They stood in silence for a moment, the shared weight of their year-long experience hanging between them. Then Tobias turned, his bells jingling as he made his way toward the door. Before he could leave, Alistair called after him, "Tobias." The jester paused, glancing back. "Don't ever stop reminding me to laugh." Tobias's grin returned, bright and mischievous. "And you, your Majesty, don't ever stop listening to the absurd. Sometimes that's where the truth hides." With a final wink, Tobias cartwheeled out of the throne room, his laughter echoing through the stone halls.